The billionaire didn't blink. Not at first. Not when the server approached. Not even when his son reached out his hand. But the moment their fingers touched, something cracked. And everything he thought he knew about strength, about pride, about control, all of it unraveled right there under the soft glow of a Manhattan chandelier. That night, the king's table glittered as it always did, a fortress of money, manners, and muted ambition. It wasn't just a restaurant, it was a performance. Every glass poured, every bite served, every whisper exchanged was calculated. And David Carter, real estate mogul and headline name, sat right at the heart of it with his 10-year-old son Ethan beside him, a boy bound by leg braces, silenced by grief, and half drowned in his father's impossible shadow. The accident had stolen more than Ethan's ability to walk. It stole his light, the kind that used to burst from him in the form of laughter and questions and songs about dinosaurs. David had tried everything: therapists, private tutors, expensive treatments in sleek, white buildings. But nothing reached Ethan. And David, who'd always believed money could fix anything, now sat helpless beside a son who wouldn't look him in the eye. So when Ethan suddenly spoke, soft but clear, to the only black server in the room, asking her to dance, David didn't know what to do. And neither did anyone else. You could feel the pause stretch across the room like a taut wire. Forks hovered midair. Eyes widened. Mr. Thornton, the restaurant's manager, moved like a man who'd just heard glass break, smooth on the outside but rigid underneath. He approached table 3 with an air of practiced politeness that barely covered the edge in his tone. "Mr. Carter, please control your son. This is not a place for that." That. One word. Heavy with judgment, dripping with class and race, and unspoken lines you weren't supposed to cross. Jasmine Brown, the server Ethan had addressed, froze. You could see the war behind her eyes. Stay safe or step forward. And then, like she'd made peace with every risk, Jasmine set down her apron. "I can't dance with this on," she said. She took Ethan's hand, and together, one small boy in metal braces and one quietly defiant woman in a borrowed pair of flats, they moved into the open space between the tables, the air electric around them. You could hear the braces scrape the polished floor with every step, could feel the disapproval thick in the silence. But Jasmine never flinched. She matched Ethan's awkward rhythm, smiling not for the crowd, but for him. David watched, chest tight. In Jasmine's grace, he saw Claire, Ethan's late mother, who used to spin barefoot with their son in the living room, laughing as his feet tangled with hers. "Let him lead," she'd whisper, "even if he stumbles." But David had buried that memory under years of silence and polished surfaces. Until now. Jasmine bowed to Ethan when the song ended, saying, "Thank you for asking me. It was my privilege." And David, he stood. "Miss," he called out, voice unsure at first. "What's your full name?" Jasmine turned, lifted her chin. "Jasmine Brown." The entire room shifted. She wasn't just a server anymore. She was someone with a name, a story, a presence. And David Carter, the man who once signed off on skyscrapers without a second glance, was now asking, genuinely asking, to know her. The next morning, under the cold light of the Manhattan skyline, Jasmine stood before the mirrored glass of Carter Tower. Dressed in her cleanest navy dress, tote bag clutched tight, she stepped into the lion's den. Linda Winters, Carter's assistant, all sharp edges and tighter smiles, greeted her with a line dipped in venom. "My boss doesn't usually summon servers unless it's to let them go." Jasmine just smiled. "And where exactly would you say I belong in this tower?" Linda blinked, thrown off balance. Because Jasmine wasn't playing their game. She was rewriting the rules. Inside, David offered her a job, a position, a platform. Jasmine listened, then laid a humble card on his billion-dollar desk. "If you really want to help Ethan, bring him to our community center in the Bronx. Tuesdays and Thursdays. First session's free. No suits. No titles. Just rhythm and trust." David blinked. No one had ever refused him. But Jasmine wasn't selling herself. She was offering something money couldn't buy. Real connection. And she left, head high. A week later, David found himself outside the Freedom Moves Community Center. Paint peeling, kids laughing, no security detail in sight. His son's hand gripped his. "Dad, I want to try." And for once, David didn't resist. He followed. Inside, the space pulsed with chaotic joy. Kids in braces, chairs, crutches, all moving with wild freedom. No schedules, no charts, just music, movement, and meaning. Jasmine welcomed him not like a donor, but like a man still learning how to be a father. Then Ethan, without warning, ditched one of his braces, stepped forward, wobbled, caught Jasmine's hand, and danced. Cameras flashed, reporters swarmed. David flared, assuming Jasmine had staged it. But she held firm. Ethan chose this. I just followed. And as Ethan took that first unsteady step, proud, radiant, something broke inside David. Something that needed to. He wept. Not from fear, but freedom. That night, in front of the press, he pledged 5 years of funding to Freedom Moves, under one condition: Jasmine and her team stay in charge. No corporate oversight. No interference. Because for the first time, David Carter wasn't just investing money. He was investing faith. Months passed. The new Freedom Moves center rose brick by brick, designed by children, painted by the community. Ethan became its proud ambassador, Jasmine its heart, and David, well, he became something new. A man who listened, who learned, who let others lead. And when Time magazine printed their photo, David, Jasmine, and Ethan under the headline "The Dance That Changed America," it wasn't about charity. It was about a truth too long ignored. That dignity doesn't come from status, and leadership isn't about control. Even Linda Winters changed. She stood at ribbon cuttings now, not guarding legacies, but cheering on children finding their voice. And at the grand opening, when Ethan stepped on stage with a single cane, smiling like he owned the world, David didn't say a word. He just stood next to Jasmine, hand over his heart, and whispered, "Thank you for showing me how to follow." Because in the end, it wasn't a dance. It was a revolution, soft, slow, unstoppable. Now it's your turn. What would you have done in that restaurant? In that office? At that moment when rules clashed with humanity? Tell us, who do you follow when the music starts? Because sometimes, the first step to justice is letting go.